Hi, friends. This is LA Storytime. I'm Christy, and I think we're going to have some fun today. I want to spread a little sunshine, light, love, positivity. It's been a little dark over here on this podcast lately as we've covered, my time on the spicy platform, talking about covering very dark celebrity news. And I wanted to lighten things up a little bit. Obviously, we have to be careful about doing that when there is tons of suffering and injustice going on in the world. And yes, I agree, all of our attention should be on that. But I also think, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up is I really want people's thoughts on this, especially as I continue to put out content that I've let kind of take whatever turn it wants, but I guess is always going to kind of end up being about reality TV, Hollywood, and frivolous things. And I think that there really is a place for that, especially in a time like right now. Let me know if you think that I'm wrong. I don't believe that we can care for others 24/7. I don't believe that we can intake negative stories and think about the people who are miserable and suffering all the time, every second of every day. Because if we do that, we'd be in such a hole that we wouldn't be able to help or form thoughts about, how what we think is right and what needs to be done in the world. I think you need a little bit of a break. You need some frivolousness. You need some Vanderpump Rules in our lives a little bit to kind of recharge so that we can go out in the world and crusade and stand up for the people that need standing up for. So I'm going to keep looking at celebrities for entertainment. And if you want that, you can come right here. Today, we are going to talk about probably one of the most entertaining shows of all time that has really only gotten hotter in all of its 11 seasons, right? Vanderpump Rules. This has been a popular topic of conversation here because of my experience with the cast, because they are the ones that were out there, whose names were on everybody's lips when I was first starting to cover entertainment news and when I was first creating my outlet, Christy Reports. I knew that getting any kind of exclusive interview with the stars of Vanderpump Rules would pull me some big numbers on YouTube, and it was like I've said a couple times, it was a lot easier back then, and they really made it that way. I think we are in very high danger of Vanderpump Rules as we know it ending altogether. Perhaps by the time this airs, I film about a week ahead of time. Perhaps by the time this airs, Vanderpump Rules will be canceled, or they will have announced that they scrapped the entire cast and are starting over again, which I think could be kind of fun, right? Because what we're going to do today is we're going to look back at 11 seasons of one of our favorite shows. And I think if you do and go watch back that first season, it was so good. The first few, they were so good. And I think they could easily recreate that in another one of Lisa's restaurants or even at SUR again with a new batch of kids, basically. Right. So I think we could see that happen for sure. And that a lot of those stars go to the Valley. Current stars of the Valley might get downgraded to friends of those ones that we haven't known for 12 years. But either way, Bravo has got at least two hot shows on their hands, probably more than that, and enough people who are known to the audience and who know how to make great reality TV, like welcome back, Kristen Doute. There's enough of those people that we are going to get all the, Vanderpump related content we could want or need for the next probably another decade. And I am so here for it. You guys, I love to think back now that we've seen, Jax and Brittany's relationship really break down. We've seen how Kristen continues to be the same Kristen that we have always known and loved. Really, the same kind of themes going down in the show: cheating, 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 cheating with friends, everybody hooking up with each other. That has never changed. And apparently, it's not going to. I remember going back into the restaurant when the show first started airing and wanting to get those interviews with the stars. And that's when they were still working there. You would go into SUR and Scheana was serving in her little SUR dress. She waited on me and my mom once, I remember, when we went there. And Jax and Tom were behind the bar. Ariana was maybe behind the other bar. It was so easy to interact with them. And people were so hungry to know more about them that I would go in and I would talk to the manager. Is it Deanna, right? The one that Kristen told to S a D? in another very memorable scene from a few seasons into the show, I used to go and ask her, like, hey, I know you guys are kind of busy, but I would really like to talk to Jax or Stassi or, whoever. Can I pull them outside? And they'd be like, yeah, sure. Okay. This was long before the cast was big enough to, walk red carpets and stuff like that. It was only the first few episodes starting to air. And as you all already know, it was on my radar so hard because I had very nearly starred on my own restaurant reality show that really had taken a different turn. And so I really thought that VPR was going to be hot. I don't take a lot of credit in that. I mean, I think it was pretty obvious. Right. And I will never forget one of those first times when I, had the lady balls to go in there and just say, hey, I'm going to pull your servers out and grill them on the patio. Which even that looked a lot a lot more lackluster back then. But I'll never forget it. That was when I discovered that Jax Taylor was a gold mine right away, right off the bat. Talking about whether they've evolved or changed at all, Jax has always been the hottest gossip in the whole group. He would be the one to tell me everything about everyone else, and then I could go and ask them about it and get the scoop. So it was so valuable. I will never forget because I've also shared on here about the low, sad moments of having sound issues and getting fantastic, valuable interviews and then not being able to air them or not even being able to hear them to report on what was said. But in one of those times when we had sound issues and this interview would never saw the light of day, I was so upset because it was when Jax spilled to me one of the biggest breakups ever on the show way back in the early days. Tom and Kristen. The first couple seasons, we thought that they were solid. We didn't know they had already filmed the second season, but it hadn't aired yet. I think it was towards the end of the first season getting really newsworthy that I had this conversation, this interview with Jax. And he was like, oh, there might be some trouble in paradise over there with Kristen and Tom. And I was like, wait, what? Have they broken up? Oh, I don't know. You'll have to ask them. He did not mention that they broke up because Jax had hooked up with Kristen. I found that out on the show just like everybody else did. I also talked to Stassi that night, and she also said a whole bunch of stuff that would have been, groundbreaking at the time, but that again, nobody ever saw or heard. No problem though at a red carpet event that I covered. I think this was when the first season was airing as well, and there was a big fashion event in downtown LA. They do LA Fashion Week. You're like, "What? LA Fashion Week?" Yeah, that's a thing. It's not New York, it's not Miami, but it is a thing. And we were at some fashion show. Stassi, Kristen, and Katie were all supposed to be there as celebrity guests, but they were not accustomed to being celebrities yet. These were just three normal gals who I feel like this must have been their first, red carpet situation. I believe I was the only press that was even there. Again, they were only on my radar. The show was getting to be a little bit known, but it was just this little cable show on Bravo. It kind of put Bravo on the map too, right? So I was the only one there who knew anything about them and was willing to talk to them. And I remember, of course, Stassi goes first. Stassi was and is and probably will always be the queen bee of the cast, whether she's on TV or not. She walks the carpet and I go up and talk to her. We have a great interview. And same with Kristen. She walks up, we talk a little bit. Again, you can tell that they were really just learning how to do these kind of interviews and how to be a celebrity. They were servers and bartenders, waitresses, right? At this point. And to be honest with you, so was I. When we all weren't on the red carpet, we were slinging drinks behind the bar. So no judgment. I really was treating them like they were a big deal. And this is a situation with Katie that it just really told me who she was at the time. I think she's still this person. And is really the reason why I just kind of was always hands off with her. I feel like I had her number from day one because in that first event, after the other two girls went, I said, okay, Katie, come on over. Let's have a chat. And she's like, no, I don't know. I don't want to. I don't know what I would say. Like, I'm like, girl, you're a star now. You better figure out what to say. You just watched your friends come and do this. Easy peasy. I'm nice. I'm fun. This was before too. I was really harassing people. and really getting the scoop, right? Hitting them with the 1-2 punch, the two soft questions and the hard one. This was before I got that aggressive. I was just out there having fun and thinking that it was all cute, so I was coming at her in a very positive way, and I was just so turned off by the fact that she just wouldn't even try. I would always be totally down to film an interview. And then if someone says, you know what, I wasn't really into that, or I didn't like what I said, fine, that's cool. We won't use it. But it was just such like a wet blanket. And if you remember that first season, I remember thinking, oh, those two brunette girls, they are off this show, right? I can't even keep them straight. They got the same name and they're both Stassi's minions. They're never going to give us anything. I was so wrong about that. I expected Katie to get cut from the cast every season, and look how she is now, the fans' probably second favorite of the entire cast right now. So, also, this lends to what I've said before, in that I only judge the people that I see on TV if I have had real life interactions with them. So I felt very empowered, like, oh, Katie looks like this very downer, negative person on TV. And that was exactly my experience with her. So that must be who she is all the time. Oh, guys, we're being enlightened here, and it's all okay. I worry too about Ariana, just while we're on the subject now. She's been so open about her mental health and struggling with depression. And even in times when she had a lot or it seemed like she was doing well, I fear that, in another year, she's going to be saying at this time when she was filming and doing so great with Chicago and getting Love Island and all of that and having her new relationship, I think she's going to say that she was absolutely miserable and could barely get out of bed, because she has always said that about her life, always. We gotta keep that in mind now. So I always felt like I really know who these people are, and I think that's why I could always get the best interviews with them. I mean, really, Entertainment Tonight would talk to them, or Extra, or whoever it was, and I still get frustrated because I'm like, you don't know the history, you don't know what these cast have been through. I do. When Scheana came on my series Shampsing and Shopping, and we went out and did a little bit of shopping, drank champagne, and just had kind of a casual interview that way, she really opened up to me about how difficult it was becoming. That was maybe about in the third season or so. That's when her relationship with Shay was really highlighted, and she was telling me about how people really forget that we are real people, and that it's very difficult to film, open your life up, and then go back and talk about it in the green screens that they have to do, and then to go back and relive it and get everyone's opinion. And that was well before there was so much commentary on social media, and even then they were talking about how difficult it was. I always had that in mind too when I talked to them. They are really opening up their lives. I would never, you guys, I would never. I know I talked about my one experience where I almost did reality TV after covering it for this many years. I would never be comfortable opening myself up to that kind of scrutiny. They do this every single day, every aspect of their lives. I just want to take a moment to say, like, mad respect, you know? I respect Lisa Vanderpump a ton as well. She's always been a very polarizing character. She's always been one of my favorites. And I, like, when I hosted after shows and stuff and in interviews with her, I always championed her. People really didn't like some of the things that went down with her on Real Housewives and stuff. And I was always team LVP, even though I got to the point with her at red carpet events where she would kind of run away from me a little bit. The cast has to do this. They have to stay up there and endure my nosy questions if they want attention. But LVP is a little bit above that. Once I had done a few with her and she knew that I was going to find a way to really get to answers of questions that people wanted to know the answer to, she started to play around with me and like make it a little harder. I have a video of her at it was a musical opening at Pantages, and she is literally running away from me. Ken toting behind, running away from me, and I am just step in my heels with my microphone in front of her mouth, still asking my questions. And I think she thought it was hilarious. I thought it was fun. Again, there's no harm done in any of this. That's why I don't report on hard news. If I were to do that to someone whose house just burned down, that would make me, but to someone who needs media attention to survive, to get paid, to do their job, for their restaurants to thrive, for the shows that they're an executive producer of to maintain an audience. Those people need this. So I'm doing it. I'm giving it to her. You are welcome, Lisa Vanderpump. I mean, who else was going to be asking the stars of the show such specific things? If Lauren, y'all remember Lauren, James's pinchy hookup, who really upset Lala at Pride that one weekend in about season, I don't know, 5 or so. Nobody else would know who she is when she showed up to a red carpet event. Jenna, James hookup random. Nobody would know who she is when she showed up. And she was there. She wanted to talk about her personal training and the stuff that she did. So I got the scoop from her about her relationship with James and asked her, spring bikini body makeover tips or whatever it was. She was happy. I was happy. And again, no one else would have even talked to her if I hadn't been there. So this is my little way of redeeming myself especially after last week talking about getting in the 90-day fiance stars businesses so hard in a way that ended up being incredibly dark and detrimental for them and for me. There are some bright spots. And again, we need some of this stuff to get through all the terrible news of the day. That all kept me going too. I wasn't making any money, especially at the beginning. Like I said, I was still waiting tables and bartending at this time. So the fact that I was able to get what I felt like was exclusive interviews with big TV stars meant a lot to me. And I knew that I was getting on the radar of Bravo a little bit too, which was my whole intention in building my platform, was to get attention from someone who would put me on TV as a host. I realized that Bravo must have at least seen my interviews or know that I was all over Vanderpump Rules. When Katie and Tom got married, I got a big old box in the mail. I got a huge box from Bravo today. Yes, Bravo, the reality TV network, sent me a big old box. I don't know what's inside, but they tweeted me about it. I can't wait to see, but I wanted you guys to all see me seeing what's inside. The whole world was excited about Katie and Tom's nuptials, but I wasn't expecting to get a gift. I couldn't imagine what was this box that I got from Bravo, right, to celebrate Tom and Katie's wedding.
It looks like Katie wants me to be her bridesmaid, seeing as how this box says, "Will you be my bridesmaid?" And it's super cute.
Like it was the same stuff that Katie gave to all of her bridesmaids. It was so much fun to open the box and realize that I had a cool PR box. This was before PR boxes were a thing. This was the first time I had ever seen a bunch of themed things come to a creator's house and then, open it up and the whole thing. That was so fun for me. I haven't done a lot of that since. I'm not an influencer. This is probably the only time I've ever had the opportunity to do that. And that's fine with me because it was the coolest bunch of stuff I still have to this day. There was a necklace with a little C on it. So it was personalized for me. Like they went through the trouble of, making a necklace with my initial on it that I still wear all the time. Probably have worn it on this show. There was like wedding cookies that were bridal themed. One of those shirts that they used to make back in the day that said, "Friends don't let friends Vanderpump alone." I still have it in my closet. I have never worn it once. Because it seems a little weird and cheeseball to do that. But I think I put it on in the video and just had tons of fun, unwrapping my bridesmaids box and feeling like I was really part of the Vanderpump crew.
Congratulations, Tom and Katie.
I really appreciated getting sort of that nod from them, from the cast, especially because they were all getting so popular. And, some of them were doing their own hosting. Stassi started her podcast. Scheana went to school for broadcast journalism and has done a ton of hosting herself. So the fact that they would give me the time of day and felt comfortable with me and trusted me really meant a lot. One time, Stassi even told me, I think she called me like the queen or something of interviews.
You're amazing. You do the best interviews because you get the good, you know what I mean?
I squeeze the juice.
You're my idol. I should bow down. Thank you for giving me the entertainment that I need every day because I just watch it on repeat.
I was like flabbergasted. It's probably the only time on camera I've been like, what? Excuse me? And she told me that they would send my interviews around on the group chat, which, if I remember correctly, that was when I talked to her was not too long after I had just interviewed. It was like James and Raquel together on a red carpet, and like Jesse and Faith, and some of the kind of outskirt stars that the main cast were really trying to make sure no one paid a lot of attention to. So Stassi let me know that they showed each other, her and the OG cast would show each other my interviews of those people to kind of laugh. I got the idea that it was like, oh, look at these people. They think they're a big deal. But I just felt cool to be kind of part of all of that. And I always wondered if one of these interviews that I did with them would end up on the show, or, sometimes, especially at the beginning of the show, they were trying to say like, oh, they are going to be actors. They're trying to be Hollywood stars, not reality stars, but they would be doing things where they'll be walking a red carpet. We've seen some of the red carpet interviews they've done sometimes on the show. I always wondered if that would be me. It never has been on any of the shows. I have seen events that I have covered on Vanderpump Rules and tons of other shows, and them showing, other interviews they did or other reporters. And that sounds so silly, and it's not, something that I think anyone would even really care about. But I just always thought it would be kind of cool. Right. And I was always like, how is it not me? I'm the one who's out there always harassing these kids. How is it not me? But that was really a nod from Stassi, who herself was, the queen of VPR, and has done a lot with her attention from it with her podcast and becoming a New York Times bestselling author. That's something that I would like to tell the cast of Vanderpump Villa. If you all have watched, it's a new series on Hulu where Lisa has a sort of a bed and breakfast or like a vacation venue in Europe. And it's a brand new cast of people, most of whom I think were cherry picked from her restaurants here in Vegas, where they can't film and they never will. Remember, we always wondered if there would be a show about Lisa's restaurants in Vegas. And I believe the reason why they don't do that is because the unions are so strict here in Las Vegas. And this is actually what someone who had been on VPR from one of the Vegas restaurants told me, that because the unions have so many rules, especially about things like drinking on the job and that kind of thing, relationships with managers is probably another big one, that they just could never film in the restaurants here because there's too many rules, right? They can't do the things that they would show on the show. So you're never, I don't think, going to see any of the Vegas restaurants, but Lisa picked some of the people who are really good, potential reality stars from those restaurants and put them on this Vanderpump Villa show. So that could be the new Vanderpump Rules, or some of those people could move over. And there is a very Jax and Stassi couple. I mean, they are Jax and Stassi season 1 to a T, Hannah and Marciano. And I really think right now, from what I hear, Hannah having her season where she was edited to be the mean girl, I think she's really reeling from that right now. And I would tell her to take a play from, to take a page out of the Stassi Schroeder playbook, girl, and embrace it. For some reason, there's an audience of people who love that kind of snark and the kind of negativity and the crap talking about people. And I think Hannah could really lean into that. Hannah and Marciano could be the new Stassi and Jax on a revamped cast of Vanderpump Rules, depending on what their contract is with Vanderpump Villa and why that show ended up on Hulu, how Bravo let it go when they have first look of anything that Lisa Vanderpump creates, how Bravo let that go when Vanderpump Rules is so hot after so many years. I don't know. But maybe we'll find out. I think the good news here is that what I'm saying is there's a whole new generation of those who have to abide by the Vanderpump Rules, and they're already on TV. We know them. And it's just going to continue to grow and get hotter. And it's so much fun to look back on the beginnings of the OG cast, see how they have changed and evolved. I'm just happy that there is no end in sight. Regardless of the actual Vanderpump Rules show's future, we are going to see these people on TV. Remember Scheana Shay for life. I actually agree with everything that she and Lala Surprisingly, that's the first time I've said that, have said this season. And I think there is a lot of places for this to go, and probably only one place for Lala to go, and that's the Valley, where she can really make sure that somebody holds Jax Taylor accountable for his actions. We could sit and talk about it all day long. This is not an after show, but I did think it would be fun to kind of touch on some things that are going down in real time. Please let me know what you think is the future of the show, of the Valley, for the cast. Who do you want to see where? What kind of conflicts do you think could arise? And don't forget about that Vanderpump Villas cast too. Where could they land? Do you want to see another season of that? Who should I try to get at for interviews and such? This is really re-piquing my interest. I haven't done an interview in, I don't know, probably a couple of years. But this just might pull me back into it because I still have these relationships with the cast. And again, what I do feel that what I did with them was always different from knowing them so well and from being there from day one. So I think I could have some really interesting conversations with them or people who are in the peripheral of the show. And maybe we should do that. So please let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching or listening every week. I'm really enjoying hearing from you all. And it really does help me, especially after last week when we went down that dark hole. I really appreciate the love and light coming from all of you. I'm sending you hugs and love. And I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.